Hey everybody, welcome to Drive Thru Review 469. Today we're going to take a look at a game that I probably will mispronounce, and it's Pflaumen is how I pronounce it. This is a sort of a trick-taking game. A designer is Matthias Kramer, who has done like Glenmore and Lancaster, which is one of my favorite games, Helvetia, and a couple other games I'm forgetting. But this is, I think, his first kind of lightish, I'll get to that in a minute, a sort of lightish trick-taking style card game, so not something you would expect from him. It plays 2 to 5 players, and it takes about a half hour. We've been playing at lunch and really enjoying it, but it's a very different, wonky style trick-taking game, different than anything I've really seen. So let's jump into actually how the mechanics work, and then I'll tell you what I think. Okay, Pflaumen has a theme that I don't quite understand, but I don't think that's important. What you're kind of trying to do is collect different sets of these fruits. Here's a plum, and I believe Pflaumen is plum. And you can see pi is not like a pie you eat, but actually pi the number. So let's take a look at the components and I'll tell you how it works. So there's a variety of different cards in the game. First off is the guard dog card, and this is double-sided, and the rules say you can just choose your favorite breed. And this one actually protects you from having cards stolen from you, which I'll talk about in a minute. You've got the pie cards, and you'll collect these in the game, and these are simply going to add 3.14 to the value of the card that you play. And you can play multiple of these on your turn if you wish. You have this stack here of plum cards. These are double-sided. These are different fruits, and you can collect these during the game. You have some turn order cards here in the various different turn orders, and then you have 3 sort of eras of cards, and you can actually kind of see this butterfly form. You have age 1, it's a caterpillar, that's in its cocoon, and then it comes out as a butterfly. So you'll take out a certain number of cards based on the number of players, and then you'll deal these out. And these have a variety of different symbols and things on them. There is 1 of each number, so like in a 5-player game, you'll play with 1 through 25. You'll take some out, and each of these is a different fruit. So you can see, I'm not sure what that is actually. And then you've got berries there, and strawberries, and apples, and oranges, more apples, and so on. And there also are different symbols here, like this one will get you the dog if you win this card. This one is a little scoring symbol. What this means is if you have 2 of the same fruit, you can score 5 points because it's got AA. And then here you have 3 different fruits, A, B, C. And if you have that, then you can score 6 points. So how does a round work, or a hand? Well, everybody's going to take and play a card. So somebody will go first, they'll play a card into the center, and the next player will play another card, and then let's say we're playing a 4-player game, and we have these 4 cards played. So going around the table, whoever played the highest card, in this case a 22, will get the number 1. So this means they're going to have first choice of the cards that were played. So for a 4-player game, we're going to 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's, depending on the player count, you'll have different ones of these. So the first player will choose first, and then second and third, and then the last player, whoever played the lowest card, in this case the player that played the 1, will get the last choice. They get whatever's left, and then they'll get a plum. So they'll take a plum off the stack there. So sometimes we tried playing without those because it felt fiddly. It's not really fiddly. You can just kind of put somebody responsible for that, putting those out as the cards are played, and then it does help, as the cards are taken, remember whose turn it is to take another card. So let's say the 22 goes, and then he wants to choose the 4, and then the 19 would go, and maybe they want the card that they played, and then the 4 would go, and then they want let's say they want the 2, and then this guy goes and he gets this plus the plum. Now, like I said, there are special things and icons on the card. So I talked about the scoring icons. There are also, let's look here, these pie icons, the dog icons, and then there's a stealing icon here. Well, the stealing is very simple. When you take a card that has the stealing icon, you can steal any other card that's in front of a player that they've taken previously and take it. Now, if they've scored a card, then you can't take that. I'll talk about scoring in a minute. Then you've got the dog here. If you take a dog card out of the center, then you get the dog in front of you, and then you're immediately protected from scoring. Nobody can steal from you unless they steal the dog from you. And it is possible to have more than one dog come out, and you take the dog, take the card, and somebody else takes the other dog with the card, and then they get the dog. And then you've got the pie card. So if you take the card with the pies, you're always going to take 3 pies, and you kind of add these to your hand. And then on later turns, when it's your turn to play a card, so when you go to decide, you say, okay, well, maybe I can play this 11 and I can put maybe these 2 pies out, and that'll be enough because you're kind of card counting too. So this will be 14, 17 dot something, right? Dot 28. So this is going to be higher than a 17, but lower than an 18. So you might play this with the pies, or you might play all 3 pies, or you might collect a whole bunch of pies and save them to the end of the game and then try to win a bunch of tricks at the end of the game. So that is how those cards work. So you take and get them. Now I talked about scoring. Now scoring cards are, you can score them as soon as you take them or as soon as you meet the criteria. So let's say, here's an interesting decision here. Let's say I had these 2 cards here, and then I won this card. I took this card, and it says 3 different cards, right? A, B, C, and score them. So what you can do is, I don't have to actually use this card in the scoring, but it's more efficient to do so. So if I take and say, okay, I took the scoring card, I satisfy the criteria, I can score it right away. I'll take it and I'll put this one face down. So this is my score pile, and this is protected. This can't be stolen. And then I'll discard the other 2 cards because I've got 3 different fruits, the berries, these white things, and an apple, and then I meet that. Now, there's nothing saying that I couldn't actually, you wouldn't do this because it's less efficient, but I could say, I'm going to keep this one, score this one, and discard these 3 other cards. The card that you are scoring the points for doesn't have to be involved in the set, but you want it to because you're getting rid of less cards in front of you. And there are others here. Whenever you're playing with 5 players, the 25s all have, if you have 3 plums, you can score that. You got more sets, like you'll have like a full house here in the laters here, so you can see if you have, what's that, 5 plums. This one here, 3 of one kind and 2 of another. And of course, you might stack up plums. You maybe play a bunch of low cards during the round, so you get a bunch of plums to make those sets. Here's 5 different cards, and so on. And so after you play a hand, whoever was the first choice that round, then they lead the next card in the trick. We play around, then we distribute those, and then once you play through your hand, you're going to deal out the error 2 cards and the error 3 cards and go along till there, and then you're just going to reveal your points at the end of the game, and whoever has the most points is the winner. The tiebreakers, whoever has the most fruit cards left in front of them. There is an advanced rule and a basic rule, and I've only played it with the advanced rule. The advanced rule is you can only score 1 card per turn, and we like it like that. And at the end of the game, in the non-advanced rule, you can score a bunch of cards if you have leftover cards that you could possibly score. But in the advanced game, no, you've got to score them 1 at a time each turn during the game, and I prefer that. Okay, that is Pflaumen. What do I think of this game? Really enjoy this game a lot. I am one that is kind of sick of trick-taking games. I like the ladder climbing style games, but this one really has taken myself and as well as my game group there at lunch by storm. We really have liked this. It's taken a couple of plays for us to get into it, and then some more plays beyond that, where we really started to tinker with the strategies. Now, it's hard to explain because when we first were looking at the cards and trying to figure out, okay, how does this work? Is it like the low cards are the scoring cards, or the high cards are the scoring cards? Like, how does it work? It's kind of mixed throughout, and I think that is a good thing because it's kind of an opportunistic kind of feel, so that you see how the trick's playing out, what position you're going to choose, and you can say, okay, he's going to be able to steal before I can get the card. If I take this card, he's going to take it anyway, that kind of stuff. And so you might also throw out a scoring card that you look around and okay, nobody's going to be able to score this one. Maybe it's a full house one. Nobody's got much pairs or anything. It's a bunch of different ones. Maybe everybody's just scored. So it's kind of reset the landscape of all the cards that are in front of everybody. So I'm going to throw this one out there, get it away from me, and then let somebody do that, and then maybe try to steal it later or so on, and try to play around that so I can get the choice to steal the card. Because after you play the game a few times, you're going to count. There's 2 stealing cards in each set, and then 2 or 3 dogs. I can't remember. It's been a week since I've actually played it. So you count, and then you see the cards disappear, and there's 1 through 25. The 25's already been played, or it hasn't been played. Oh, he's got a pie in there. How many pies do I spend? That kind of stuff to try to get into a position where you're going to get the card that you want to choose. And so there's also some tinkering that you can do with kind of the turn order, because you want the person to your left to be playing first because playing last in a particular hand or trick is the best, because then you can decide, especially if you have pies, you can decide where you want to go, whether it matters. And that's kind of the thing with the game is, okay, so I can play this card with a bunch of pies and probably choose first, but I know those jerkies across the table are holding their massive scoring card because they don't want to put it out because they know I can score it. And so it becomes this kind of game of like, I don't really want to play any of these cards. And you're like, which one is the least one that's gonna help somebody else or damage me particularly? So that's a very interesting game. So this is a little bit of an ethereal kind of game. You gotta definitely play it a few times to get into it. And I think you want to play it with the same group of players so that everybody kind of comes up equally in skill level and kind of knowledge of the cards and the scoring cards and the dog cards and the stealing cards, because plays will quickly become crucial. You're like, the one card that you play or that you didn't play is really going to kind of dictate how well you or somebody else is going to do that round. So this is going to be a good game, I think, for a group of gamers that plays together frequently, for sure. I recommend it. I like the artwork, is very nice. I like the whole, the pie thing is just weird, but I like it. And I like how you kind of get this power. These pie cards are definitely power towards the end of the game, so you've got to be real considerate about when you play these especially. But I highly recommend this game. Now, I did not get this sent to me by Velma at Game Surplus. This was actually sent to me by the publisher. But I do see that she picks it up from time to time. And I would say if you live in the United States, that's a good bet. Now this is an import here. It does come with English and German rules, and I'm not sure about its availability elsewhere. I just know because it's kind of an import type of deal. She's got it for sure. Amazon.de and stuff might have it. There might be other folks that have it. I just haven't checked. But definitely take a look at it. And I think if you're overseas there in Europe, then you should be able to find it pretty readily because it's from Pegasus Spiel. So definitely enjoy this one. It's going to reward you for multiple plays for sure. So thanks.